our good friends at Angel Studios. I love Angel Studios. Amazing new film this Holy Week. Phenomenal. In fact,
as I think about Charlie's life and how much of a support he was of Angel, it's hard not to feel so grateful for what he did. He supported us in our darkest days and in our brightest hours as a company. Man, are we grateful to have gotten to be a little connection in the multitude of connections that he made throughout his life, because it was so impactful to us. Thank you, Charlie. Love you. We miss you. We're going to continue to drive forward the good news.
All right, welcome to the Charlie Kirk Show. It's election day, so here we are starting the day out. We're also going to be finishing the evening out with live updates. We're going to be streaming this evening, so check us out on all the Charlie Kirk Show platforms and socials, and we'll make sure you have access to that. Of course, we're going to have our star-studded team, our election day team,
and me.
And Blake. No, in honor of Charlie Kirk, and those of us gathered around this table right now understand that Charlie loved election night streams, and you, the audience, tuned in by the droves to hear Charlie do it. So we're going to honor Charlie. We're going to remember him, honor his legacy, and we're going to be right here again tonight. So set your clocks. We're just going to start at 7:30 Eastern, correct? That's when we're starting the stream, 7:30 Eastern?
I think maybe 6:30 Eastern. You may.
That's the mountain time.
Daylight savings,
yeah, 6:30 Eastern. I apologize. So glad I did that. Jack Posobiec, Human Events Daily host, joining us today. He's in town this week, as well as Blake Neff, back from assignment. Always good to have you, buddy.
Yeah. And, I want to open, just before we forget about it, okay, we're going to be talking about New Jersey. We're going to be talking about Virginia. We're going to be talking about New York. But there are a lot of other places you could be voting if you haven't voted yet.
Hit us.
If you live in Minneapolis, your mayor's up today. You've got gross Jacob Fry, but he's running against Omar Fateh, the kind of Somali goblin-looking guy.
Gross versus grosser.
Voting that. California, we have Prop 50, is it?
Prop
Where
50.
To gerrymander the state. You could vote in that if you're one of our many California people. All of you guys were always begging, Charlie, get more involved in California. That is a race you guys could make a difference in.
Such a good point. And by the way,
Pennsylvania Supreme Court.
Pennsylvania Supreme Court.
Listen, this show has a huge audience in a lot of different parts of the country. But actually, weirdly enough, the California, it's partly just because there's so many people in California, but we also have great radio spread in California. We have a huge audience in California. And so to your point, Blake, Prop 50, is it yes or no, Blake?
Oh, man, I can't remember.
I think it's no.
I believe no.
I'm going to give you the answer. I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No.
It's vote no on Prop 50. There's been this is basically to reverse a referendum vote where the state of California. By the way, you know what's hilarious about this Prop 50 thing is that they set up an independent commission. Arnold Schwarzenegger, of all people, has been out loud and proud on this, saying vote no. And I appreciate his efforts. Whatever past disagreements we might have, he's right on this. And, even the independent commission has been radically corrupted because, remember, you get mostly Democrats that are on the independent commission. So, it's better than Prop 50, but even the independent commission could use a lot of work. That's the bottom line in a state like California. But, Jack, let's turn our sights to the east, okay? So, we've got the four biggest areas of focus is going to be Chitterelli in New Jersey, so vote for Chitterelli. We've got Virginia, we've got Winsome Sears, and then we got
and the AG
AG race, which is actually probably the closer of the two. We got you. So if you're thinking Winsome Sears can't win and it's not worth going out, put those thoughts aside. You need to put those thoughts aside because here's the deal. Everybody needs to get out, pull the trigger for Winsome Sears. That's probably the worst analogy I could use in that race. But you need to vote for Winsome. You need to get out and vote for Winsome.
Get out there.
And then we also need to get the AG race over the top. And that one really has a chance, big time, I would say. I don't know where the prediction markets are, but we need everybody in Virginia to think positive thoughts, get out to the polls, and make sure that the top cop in that state does not end up being Jay Jones, who is a real problem, who has, fantasized and fetishized the murder of his political opponents as well as their children. This cannot be. So Jay Jones must be defeated soundly. The good people of Virginia get out to the polls. So we've got New Jersey, Chitterelli. We've got Virginia. We've got Mamdani versus Cuomo. There's been some big moves in that race. Jack, there is some, I would say, movement in the fact that Elon Musk has come out and endorsed Cuomo. President Trump has come out and endorsed Cuomo. Now, Zoran is saying, this is a reason to vote for me, of course, which is exactly what you'd expect him to do. Do we see any signs of life for the Cuomo camp? I mean, because there's different areas of thought here. There's different schools of thought saying that Zoran's outpaced and we just can't catch up with him. Or are we seeing this race tighten?
Well, before I answer, and we are seeing there are some signs of that, but there is one thing that I do want to say is that for all the people who will be voting today and all the people who need to be voting, there is one person who will not be voting today. And there is a person who voted every single election, but this for the first time, I guess since he turned 18, who will not be voting today for the first election. And his name is Charlie Kirk. Charlie will not be voting today. Charlie should be sitting right here today, covering down on the election day coverage today and then all night on the Super Stream, which was, and we all know this, it was his favorite night of the year was election night. All right, he absolutely loved doing this. That's why we're going to keep the tradition going and be here. Tyler will be here as well. But Charlie Kirk will not be voting tonight. And Charlie Kirk will not be hosting tonight. And we know why. Because a violent leftist stole that right from him. A violent leftist stole that right to vote, his right to freedom of speech, his right to everything. And so for everybody out there, go out and vote today and do it for Charlie.
Amen. Do it for Charlie. And by the way, I'd be remiss if we didn't mention the vote against retention.
Pennsylvania. Yeah, so it's no.
Yeah,
so the way these races are, it's no. So Pennsylvania, you've got races. Look, everyone's got an election. Go out and vote today. Obviously, the races are close there. You mentioned the AG race. I pulled that up on the prediction markets, and believe it or not, about it looked like yesterday the race really tightened up. Just as of last night, it tightened up from suddenly the Republican, Jason Miyare's flew, I'm looking on Kalshi, he dropped way down to almost 50%. And it looked like the Democrat, Jay Jones, was ticking up to above 50% at one point. This is the prediction markets on Kalshi, right? And then, but now all of a sudden today, as of 11 a.m. East Coast time, and I guess it's noon East Coast time, that suddenly now Jason Miyares is pulling away with it. He's now back up to about 57%. So there was this strange tightening and now, a diving out. On the New York race, which is the one you asked me about, and I'm not going to be one of those guys who doesn't answer questions, we saw some really interesting data out of Kalshi, and I got this for New Jersey as well, that even though it looked as though Mamdani is running away with it, if you break it down to Kalshi traders who have come in from New York only. So if you parse out the data and say, okay, everyone who's outside of New York City, we're gonna take that out. Suddenly Cuomo's up 9 points.
Well, and I want to say this too, and I know that's a really interesting. So insiders inside the city are actually more bullish on Cuomo, and we saw that poll from Atlas that showed that the race was tightening in the final stretch here, that Cuomo was making up some ground. Zoran was not putting his best foot forward. This is something we talked about with Mark Halperin actually last week, that, sort of this grievance politics, the guilting Cuomo about not visiting a mosque or whatever. These were not good looks. Something about Zoran's, his mojo has been off here in the final stretch of this race, and he's looking very, very vulnerable. He's not talking like a winner. He's not talking like somebody. Or the contrary to that, the other opinion would be that he is assuming that he's going to win and the mask is fully off. But regardless, Atlas has the race very much within striking distance, which is listen, if we could get one miracle today. I'll take all three. This morning we woke up here in Mountain Time, so 2 hours off of East Coast. I'm going to get this right. We just switched, actually, in Arizona. Or Arizona didn't switch, the rest of the world did. That's how it works. So we're getting our time zones sorted here. But there was bomb threats in, it looks like, 7 different counties in New Jersey. And what's hilarious about this is that you have Zoran Mamdani claiming that this would be the work of Trump. And we'll explain why that doesn't make any sense at all in just a second. Let's go ahead and play 159.
Incredibly concerning. And I think that it is an illustration of the attacks we're seeing on our democracy. Sometimes they're blatant and explicit in the manner of these bomb threats. And we have to understand this as part of the general approach the Trump administration has taken to trying to intimidate voters.
So he says we have to understand this as part of the approach that the Trump administration has taken to try and intimidate voters. So, Jack, riddle me this. Are more conservatives or Democrats voting on Election Day?
It is typically more conservative. So it's going to be your Republicans, and then it's going to be your conservative independents.
So does it make any sense then that Trump would be responsible somehow for bomb threats on Election Day in New Jersey?
No, and what you're seeing here is, of course, the guy who, is the leading candidate to be the next mayor of New York City. Immediately when given the opportunity, what does he do? He attacks and demonizes his political opponents. This is the same thing that we saw Jimmy Kimmel do, by the way, in the wake of Charlie Kirk's murder. He immediately said that it was a MAGA guy who did this. And so what are we seeing again from, and again, we were told, the left doesn't do this, the left doesn't demonize, we need to unite, we need to do all of it. Well, here you go. This guy, by the way, he is going to be, and if he wins, by the way, and I'm going to throw down the marker right now, if he wins the New York City's mayor race, he will be the Democrat frontrunner for 2028 for the presidential election.
I agree.
And immediately, what's he do? He demonizes his opponents and blames his opponents for political violence. When we don't have any facts whatsoever right now, we do know that there's been a lot of political violence lately done by the political left. We could ask Charlie about that, but of course he's not here to join us and be able to have that discussion because of the political left. And so, by the way, we got these great I
voted
stickers, and I think we have this clip from, where is it? If you guys want to pull it up, it's just a picture, 167 that we have up, and people are posting these up across New Jersey right now. I voted to honor Charlie Kirk, and in fact, because I was in New Jersey, I have a bunch of them right here.
That's amazing.
So I voted to honor Charlie Kirk.
Dr. Oz, can you hear me? Are you seated? You ready?
Seated, ready in my office, actually in Washington. I'm anxious to see what you're going to say about the election.
Yes, absolutely. Well, this has been a really, it's an honor to have you on. I know you came on the Charlie Kirk show multiple times with Charlie, both when you were running for Senate and then later on as you've been part of the admin. Charlie would be here. Unfortunately, if you can get the wide shot, we have his open chair here. Jack just did a beautiful tribute to Charlie that Charlie would be begging everybody across the country to vote in New Jersey, in Pennsylvania, in Virginia, in New York City. And unfortunately, he's not here today. So, sir, the floor is yours. I know you had a personal friendship with Charlie. You texted often. And I just want to give you the opportunity to remember him in your own words.
Well, kudos to you for carrying on the legacy. I spent a lot of time with Charlie. He was very helpful. We got to know him quite well during the campaign. But we also stayed. I saw him the last time here in Washington in June, and we were going to do a show. We were at a meal together, and the bombing of Iran happened. So we said, well, we'll do it in September, and it speaks to the unfortunate reality that life is so unpredictable. I'm not going to take everyone through the trauma of that whole experience. Obviously, I joined the president when we flew out to the event in Phoenix, which was one of the top memorable moment in my life, and I've had lots of interesting experiences. But I think it speaks to the power that Charlie and the whole movement has had in waking people up to some of the dishonest narratives that we've been tricked with. But it sort of goes back, I think, very fundamentally to respecting some of those Judeo-Christian traditions that so often have guided us into successful relationships, raising wonderful families, living in communities that are functional. And when we don't honor some of those basic principles, we are in the trouble. And on this election day, one of the many things that's being evaluated is this government shutdown. And I thought I'd use this maybe as a jumping point to speak to those very values that Charlie would, and you and others would speak to. We are in a nation that treasures work. We believe in our country that business is good, and you want to work in business, and you want to do good things for your community through those businesses, and build value in society, and do things that fix problems. All the things that that many of us grew up, I think, believing was incumbent to our opportunity as Americans.
Yeah.
And many people came from other parts of the world because they know and found out that America actually still does those things that their country stopped doing, like go to work, play a role in improving society, have agency over your own life because it matters. God put you here to do something. And whatever that thing is, go out and do it. So when we faced, as we came into the administration, a reality that Medicaid was basically insolvent because of some of the things that have been done during the pandemic, but some of that predated the pandemic as well, we had generated a system that just was not going to be functional for much longer. That would put our most vulnerable at risk. I'm sitting in the Humphrey building in Washington, right across from the Capitol. As you walk into our building, there's a quote from Hubert Humphrey, and it says it's he uses light as a metaphor. It is the moral obligation of government, he says, it's the moral obligation of all of us, to take care of those at the dawn of life, children, those at the twilight of life, the seniors, and those who are living in the shadows. Now, again, that haunting metaphor is powerful. It feels almost biblical. So if you're going to protect our most vulnerable, you can't allow fraud, waste, and abuse to strip it of its vitality. So the president very directly told me to preserve, for example, Medicare, don't touch Medicare, don't hurt the folks who are vulnerable on Medicaid, but take the fraud, waste, and abuse out of the system. We have been doing that, and we're going to continue to do that. And the Democrats have shut down Washington, shut the government down because they believe that the one big beautiful bill, which codified many of the things that make sense to clean up Medicaid and protect it for the most vulnerable, were wrong. They want to, for example, allow illegal immigrants to continue to get funded for their health care benefits. This fundamentally changes the equation. Democrats don't like there's a work requirement. But we tell people, fine, if you're in a difficult spot, we'll pay for your health care. But you need to actually try to get a job. And if you can't get a job, go volunteer somewhere. Go take care of somebody. Go get an education. Do something to reinforce what you should know deep down inside, which is God's got a plan for you, and go act on it. And these are fundamental differences in how folks are seeing the future of this country. I believe because work is so fundamental to who we are, that we should have a work requirement. I believe that if you're an American citizen, you should get support for your health care. But illegal immigrants coming here and induced to stay here because they're given free health care, that should not be part of the equation. Certainly, the federal government should not be paying for that. And we know, for example, and just not to get into too much of the weeds here, that there are some states, there are 6 in the country, 6 out of 50 states, allow separate money to be paid to illegal immigrant health care from their state budgets. They claim. And of course, that allows them to recruit and retain illegal immigrants, despite what federal law is around coming across borders illegally. And they think that's okay. And now we are just identifying, breaking news, I'll share it with you, that we believe is over $1 billion that has been taken from federal tax money to support these programs. In fact, they're starting to pay us back, so I'm pretty sure we're right.
Wow. Well, that's breaking news. So $1 billion you've identified that's basically fraud. It's basically fraud that the states are using improperly. So I wanted to play a clip for you, and I do think it's election related because, you know, there is some polling out there that would indicate that the American people want to focus more on domestic issues, more on cost, healthcare, things like that, as opposed to foreign issues, foreign policy. And I certainly share that belief. But one of the reasons that I think this resonates is because Democrats' messaging, and I hate to say it, but I think it's been a little bit more disciplined in this, especially this election run-up, than some of the Republican counterparts. They are talking about health care, and I wanted to play this clip for you from Rachel Maddow. And it's in relation to the government shutdown, where she's basically saying, well, if you strip these subsidies out of Obamacare, the ACA, then all these costs are going to go up for Americans, right? Now, Republicans have been warning about these subsidies for years, that they're going to make Medicaid and Medicare insolvent in the long run. But I want you to give you a chance to respond to this and debunk this. 137.
Look at these numbers from the New York Times tonight. Based on the newly posted information, meaning the pricing information that's now being posted in multiple states, a family of 4 making $130,000 in Maine. So you combine the family's income, everybody's salaries, you got to do $130,000. That family would face an increase in their annual health insurance premiums next year of $16,100. That's how much their health insurance premiums would go up. This is what Democrats have been drawing the line about in this shutdown, telling Republicans that this is the thing they need to fix.
Dr. Oz, this is your world. Respond to Rachel Maddow, because that clip on Facebook, by the way, had like 100,000 likes. So a lot of people are seeing it.
So President Obama, who created the Affordable Care Act, right? It's called Obamacare. When he pushed through Congress in a very partisan way, the Affordable Care Act, there was funding for people who are at the poverty level. The question then becomes, how do you define the poverty level? Well, they defined it as 4 times more than poverty. So if poverty level, let's just make a number up, is $16,000. Make the math simple. Make it $20,000 the poverty level. Then 4 times that for an individual, $80,000, is how much they were willing to cover. They weren't going to cover 5, 6, 7, 8 times the poverty level. They just had to pick a number. We all do. So Obamacare did not cover people who are making more than 4 times the poverty level. And for that reason, when they added these COVID benefits, and they were purely added because we were in a pandemic and a war, and they were added for a very short period of time, and they were set to end when the pandemic ended. Are we out of the pandemic? We're out of the pandemic.
Of course.
We should not have pandemic-era wartime rules when we're at peace. So the Democrats wrote the law. It expires at the end of this year. And so it's their decision. They knew it was supposed to expire. Original Obamacare never covered people making 4 times Medicare. Rachel Maddow just picked an example of someone who's making whatever it was, $150,000 a year, who was making more than 4 times Medicare. Therefore, they were not ever eligible for Obamacare. And she's complaining that what was done during COVID as a stopgap measure to deal with the pandemic is now expiring, so that's a problem for the Republicans. We were even willing, despite all that, to negotiate and talk about some of these issues, but only if we find a true solution to the fundamental flaws in a broken system. Obamacare pricing has increased so much faster than anyone ever imagined. It is becoming unaffordable even when the government is paying for it. But that's not what the Democrats wanted. They want to hold us hostage. At the last moment, they say, forget about it. If you don't, with a gun to your head, agree to extend all these subsidies and just pay, forget about dealing with the costs, just pay for it, we're going to hold you up. And the president, very wisely, very bravely, together with congressional leadership, said, no, we are not going to be extorted. You guys caused this problem. It's your issue. We will help you fix it, but don't blame it on us. And yet, the legacy media, New York Times, good example, they tell stories that are literally like Aesop's fables.
Okay, I want to play this clip really quick because we got a lot of elections going on. But again, this is an election season that will be determined by domestic issues. Play cut 55.
The reason you have the standoff is because if the hundreds of billions of dollars to create a financial incentive to have this giant magnet to attract illegals from every part of Earth to these states, if that is turned off, the illegals will leave because they're no longer being paid to come to the United States and stay here.
Wow.
And then they will lose a lot of voters.
So this is why I played this clip. It's because this is a fundamental dynamic that you're seeing play out between left-wing messaging, right-wing messaging. This is not about common sense or logic. It's about emotions.
It's not ideology.
No, this is not ideology. This is about you're mean and you're trying to hurt people and take their health care away. And the Republicans are saying there's illegals on it. We can't afford it.
Well, and Blake, we definitely use that line. So Blake was on assignment yesterday, but he had given us this line in the group chat yesterday, and we used it. The gimme grins. And it's just very clear. This is the gimme grins. And we realize that because we now have this massive, and in a place like New York City, which is the model, the Mamdani model is what they want to expand across the entire country.
The Mamdani model explicitly is
in Minneapolis,
tax white people so you can take their money and give it to resentful brown people from other countries.
By the way,
that is how he frames it.
No, by the way,
that is his framing.
It's exactly his
I
framing.
remember Charlie actually tweeted about that, and there was like a whole community note thing. It was like, no, that's not true. It's white people and richer neighborhoods. It wasn't just about, but it was like in his platform, his policy platform to say tax whiter and richer neighborhoods.
I just want this piece of crap shipped back to Uganda so badly.
Well, I mean,
is this real?
He's got his paperwork.
There's this clip of Jay Jones. They're saying that about the dog. Are you seeing this?
I'm having the team.
Are you seeing this thing? That's about he almost kicked a dog. Well, I mean, we know how he feels about children. So.
No, this is interesting. Yeah, Jay Jones just attempted to kick a dog outside a Virginia polling station.
You're supposed to kiss babies and pet dogs when you're a politician.
Like, what
That's
is he
the
even doing?
basic-
We have the
Well, we
clip
already know
loading.
what he wants to do with babies. So.
Yeah. I'm saying that's what I'm saying. He's got the opposite, the opposite take on both apparently.
But there's that great clip from Tin Cup. I like the movie Tin Cup. It's Kevin Costner. It's a golf movie. Charlie hated golf, but he and I disagreed on that. But there's this moment where he's talking about what's that?
You a rom-com guy, Andrew? You big rom-com guy?
I don't know if I'm a rom-com guy, but I like Tin Cup. So check it out. So no, it's a golf movie. Anyway,
It's a rom-com.
Basically, the villain in Tin Cup, like they say he hates dogs. Only bad people hate dogs.
Wait, that's the Jack Good as it gets too, right?
All right, here it is.
Jack Nicholson.
178.
Make he rest. Make he rest.
Rest, be good,
and may he
please.
wake up tonight when you get this swing.
Goodbye, Red.
Say bye-bye.
See you soon.
Why did he just...
So for people on the audio side, I mean he looks like he's about to kick the dog. He swings his. I mean, Blake, what's your take? You're always like Mr. Skeptic. What's your take on this?
That was a weird.
That was a
halfsy
weird
kick, but it's just a weird thing to do.
It's just, It's
a voter's dog. It's not his
maybe
dog.
Maybe he wanted to pet it with his foot. Sounds like something that would make sense to him.
He wanted to pet it with his patent leather shoes there.
Rub his shoe on it or something.
But the guy fetishizes about murdering his political opponents and their kids.
It's the only way to change people's views, he says.
It's the only way to change people's views.
Because they have to feel pain.
Not to debate them.
Because he said they must feel pain before they change their views.
It is always
and by the way, guess what Charlie's killer said about him? Some hate you just can't negotiate.
Some hate you can't negotiate out.
Sounds weirdly similar. And then here's Jay Jones, who's campaigning to be the top cop in Virginia, the Commonwealth, and he just randomly, instinctively tries to kick a dog. Very strange.
It's almost like when people show you who they are, we should believe them.
You should believe them. Look at that.